We're joined by MXOtech CEO Joanna Sobran, 5K Technical Services CEO Corey Kirkendall, and ChannelPro Managing Editor Colleen Frye to congratulate our newest ChannelPro Peer of the Year award winner. Then stick around for news from Lenovo and WatchGuard, plus the secrets to cloud security. It's ChannelPro Weekly, number 176. Take the red pill. Hello and welcome to ChannelPro Weekly, episode 176. My name is MXOtech, Technology Editor, Online Director, and your host of this fine program for you. And when I say you, who are you? You are the VARs, the MSPs, the IT integrators, the IT consultants, the folks that do technology things with other businesses. That's who you are. If you are an oral hygienist, you're not really in the right place unless you're looking for a new career, but we welcome you anyway. And by the way, if you are an oral hygienist, everyone here at ChannelPro Weekly is all about flossing. Okay? Very important stuff. Joining me each and every week is the man of the hour, the man I would give a Peer of the Year award to if we did a little awards for our own internal peers, Executive Editor Rich Freeman.
You know, I've fired people for not flossing.
You know what? It is important to practice good oral hygiene.
Agreed.
And you know who else likes good oral hygiene? Joining us here for this part of the show is the managing editor here at ChannelPro, and one who has also a great smile, Colleen Frye. Welcome, Colleen.
Hello, Matt. How are you today? And I do indeed encourage good oral hygiene.
Do you floss on a regular basis, Colleen?
Getting a little personal, Matt, but you know, I try to keep my pearly whites white.
Yeah. Now, now, do you use the string, or do you have like one of those little water pick things where you kind of like blast water?
Again, that's a little personal, Matt. I keep my beauty secrets secret.
Wow, Colleen, you're like a closed book. It's pretty amazing. Well, I'm excited you're all here. I did mention Peer of the Year, and there's a very important reason why I said those particular words. That's because of our guest host who is joining us here for this part of the show. She's a visionary and driving force behind MXOtech, a Chicago-based MSP and application development company focusing on customer service, solution development, marketing, and strategy. She's been awarded recognition for her success as an entrepreneur, including the Deborah Sawyer Rising Star Award, Korean Chicago Business and Notable Entrepreneurs, and ChannelPro's very first ever Peer of the Year Award. Please join me in welcoming back Joanna Sobran. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you, Matt. Hey, everybody. I also believe in flossing, and I heard that it can even extend your life. So knowing that, you should all floss.
It is an important thing, and I don't know how we got onto this. I was just trying to make a joke that just doesn't seem to want to end. But it's really great to have you back. If you can, I kind of give a little bit of an overview about you. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
All right. Well, yes, Joanna Sobran out of Chicago here. It's a beautiful, white, snowy winter day, and I'm super excited to be here. I've been part of ChannelPro for a couple of years now and won the award last year. I started my company, MXOtech, 15 years ago, and I continue to grow it. We do both IT managed services, and we build custom mobile apps and web apps. I have 30 employees, and I'm a mom of 3 girls. So I have Simona at the age of 3, Abby at the age of 9, and Hannah, 15. So it's a busy household. The great thing about COVID for me here was that I got to work remote and spend a lot more time with my girls than I usually do. So looking at the positive side of things.
Well, that is fantastic, and we're really glad that you're here. And we're going to talk a little bit about you and the Peer of the Year award that you got. But it's important to note that we kind of set this all up on purpose because we are not only joined by you, but we are joined by another person. We are excited to have him here, and he's been on the show before. He's a 14-year entrepreneur with 25 years of experience in the information services and technology sector, and he currently is the president and CEO of 5K Technical Services. He is also the winner of the second ChannelPro SMB ChannelPro Network Peer of the Year Award. Please welcome Corey Kirkendall. Welcome, Corey.
Hey, thanks, guys. How you doing?
Hey, glad to have you here. I gave a little bit of a background on you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah. So Corey Kirkendall, President and CEO of 5K Technical Services, MSP outside of Dallas, Texas, here in Plano. Been doing this going on 15 years now, and just really enjoy growing the company and doing what we do in the MSP area. Seeing a lot of changes, seeing a lot of growth. 15 years, it's like Joanna, man, it's like a long time ago. We've seen a lot of changes, some good, some bad, but we know that we're just getting started. I feel like we're on the next wave.
Well, awesome. And we're really glad to have you here. Now, Colleen, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Peer of the Year Award and how all this kind of came to be?
Great. So we started the Peer of the Year Award last year, and we based it on, for the first year, we based it on stories that appeared in our ChannelPro magazine that were written by IT business owners like Joanna, and they shared a part of their business that our readers could learn from. And we've been doing that really since the inception of the magazine. And so we decided it was about time for an award. And so last year it was the editor's pick. We sat down and we went through the 12 stories that had appeared in the issue. And we collectively decided which one our readers we thought could not only learn the most from, but then take and apply to their business directly. And that led us to Joanna Sobran, who shared her story about how her hiring and retention policies have really helped her grow her business. This year, we opened up the process a little bit further, and we also took nominations. And so we considered the nominations in addition to the 12 peer-to-peer stories that appeared in our issue. And the editors also got to weigh in too. And so between the nominations and the editors' votes, we chose our second Peer of the Year, and that was Corey Corcondell. And Corey shared his story about how he's really blazing a trail in Internet of Things for churches in Texas and agricultural businesses. And it was really quite fascinating. He provided a lot of information on how to work with vendors and select products and what some of the security issues are. And so we thought as a group that that was certainly worthy of the Peer of the Year Award. And so Corey, congratulations. And I will let Joanna pass the mantle to you.
All right. Well, Corey, congratulations to you. I love what you're doing. It's really incredible. You definitely deserve that award. And I really also love that ChannelPro went out and seeked other people to vote on this, right? So that's really exciting. For me, it was this was a really great experience and an honor to receive this award because I was able to really participate in our community, part of ChannelPro. And it's not just a magazine, right? There's like so many people involved within our industry, everything from vendors to other MSPs. I just love the collaboration and what I was able to learn. And hold on, let me just stop this. I was able to learn quite a bit from, I'm sorry, you know what? I have to shut down my Teams because it just keeps beeping at me suddenly. Okay.
Joanna, you are a woman in demand.
You know what? I just shut it off. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. What I loved about being part of the ChannelPro community is really being surrounded by peers and learning from them and giving back. And it made a really fun year for me in a lot of ways, because I think sometimes, we get stuck behind our desks and we are surrounded by our employees, right? And just our family. And it was nice to be surrounded by other CEOs and experts in my industry. So I really enjoyed that. I really appreciated ChannelPro including me in these virtual webinars that we did, educational sessions. I know COVID hit right after I received it. And so, but you guys still pivoted, made it work. And, I never felt like we skipped a beat. So I appreciate it. I enjoy being a part of it. And just because I'm passing the baton over to Corey doesn't mean that I'm not going to stay involved. I think you guys are doing great work. And Corey, I think you have a great opportunity here to make an impact on others and share your story, your journey, and, kind of continue creating this wonderful community that we're all a part of. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, Joanna, I appreciate that. I know I got some big shoes to fill. I've been following you in the industry as well from other organizations, and I know your story. And it's powerful because you're trending and doing things when it comes to diversity and things like that that others don't dare to challenge, right? And I think I'm right there with you to continue to challenge that out and to continue to grow, which was awesome that Channel Pro did a diversity issue this year to really talk about that, because I think it was a topic that needed to be covered and
Yeah.
something that we need to continue on and look forward to. Don't pass it to me. Let's work together hand in hand and
Right.
continue to go forward. I think that'd be great. Rich is not shy on giving me a call to participate on certain things, and I love it. And I love giving back to the channel because I think we have so much to give back. Because right now, being an MSP and being in this area, it's a tough time. It's a challenging time because, whether it's our supply chain getting attacked or whether, we're getting attacked, our customers are under scrutiny and things from that perspective, this is definitely the time to be together than it is to be apart. So whatever I can share, whatever I can bring, and being in close communication with the channel, I think it's necessary in order to grow. And I encourage all MSPs, no matter who they are, where they are, large, small, multi-billion dollars, that they should participate in the channel, because all of us have an opportunity to give back and to protect what's so valuable to us. And that's those three letters, MSP.
Yeah. And I love what you said, and I think that's so important, and just helping each other grow. There's so much business out there for all of us. And I personally love giving back. And I actually met someone through Channel Pro that I've been sort of mentoring and helping, and I've had the same done for me. And it's all of us who are going to help each other really continue to grow technology and continue to grow Channel Pro, right?
Yeah, of course. I sit on a lot, whether it's CompTIA or any other things is out there, because it's information is just valuable. And I love to learn, and I'm a people person, so I love getting out there and seeing it. And as the challenges continue to grow, when I started this, I say 15 years ago, I had an afro. It was really big. You can kind of see what happened over time. It just kind of just ran away. So, and that's just, it changed a lot. And having a platform like Channel Pro out there that does bring in not only the MSP, but the channel and make it work is amazing, because there's others out there who say their channel and they're 100% vendor focused.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some that says, hey, I am the channel, but then there's only the MSP side or the IT side. But to be able to work and really have a great relationship and have that open communication, to see the value of that and to know that your voice is being heard, that's a positive. So hats off to the Channel Pro team as well.
That's such a good point you're making, Corey, because I guess if for those of you who are listening to this who are maybe new to MSP or IT in general, this is such a great platform and a community to join. And when someone asked me a couple of weeks ago at another interview, like, what would you have done differently, or what would you give to someone as advice? And for me, it would have been to join something like this, because I was struggling for a while, like break and fix. My customers weren't happy. I didn't even know about Kaseya, which was the kind of the start of my managed service world. I didn't know what managed service was. And, I happened to find out from a woman that I met at a completely different conference, but this would have been so helpful and saved me years of aggravation and time, when I could have, really kind of propelled my business even faster. So I think, like you said, for those who are in the multi-million-dollar phase and those really who are starting out, Yeah.
It is
so
definitely
much of what we do is about exactly what you were just talking about, Joanna, is that, the people who read Channel Pro, they are entrepreneurs. And generally speaking, they know a ton about technology. When they created a business, they didn't know a ton about running a business. And you got to figure it out on your own, right? So, a big part of what we do is try to make that a little bit easier by introducing the people who read our publication to folks like you and to folks like Corey, who have experience with this and can share best practices. And that's why, that was the inspiration and what was so great about the idea to create a Peer of the Year award. I very much appreciate both of you for the time that you have given us on all sorts of stuff. Even just in the last year, you both spoke at events and online and offline, and you participated in the that diversity issue that Corey was talking about there. And just by the by, you probably haven't heard about it yet, but we're doing a monthly series of diversity webcasts this year, in which we're going to involve all of the members of that editorial team. So at some point over the course of the year, one of us, Colleen or I, will get in touch about that, and we'd love to do another diversity related project with you. But it's just not everybody is willing or is as generous with their time as you guys are, and it's just a huge asset, obviously, for us, but in particular for our audience. And I'm glad that we created a way to call a little extra attention to people who are that much more willing to share and have insights to share that are that much more valuable to the folks who read ChannelPro. Corey, let's talk a little bit about what it is specifically that got you the award this year, because we called out in particular some of the work that you've been doing around Internet of Things. And I think I can speak for Matt and Colleen a little bit in saying that part of what impressed us about that and made it worthy of the Peer of the Year award this year is just that Internet of Things is one of those markets that's like a huge growth opportunity. Everybody kind of hears about all these enormous numbers, but the question is, what do I do? How do I get started? How do I actually make money delivering something around IoT? And you're one of the few people we know who, you've done that in a number of different areas. So, I mean, maybe tell folks a little bit about how you got started in Internet of Things and how that's kind of evolved over time.
Yeah, for sure. My wife is one of those people that tells me, when people win, like if I was on the Buccaneers and they said, you won the Super Bowl, what's next? The next word is go to Disneyland. Mine is, I'm going to go do the next thing, right? I'm going to do the next thing. She said, you don't take a time to do it. I'm always thinking. And so when I decided to get into the Internet thing, it was really from a perspective of when I go into my customers, I really love to understand their business and how to really leverage technology to grow their business, because I think that technology is essential, right? If they're leveraging it right, they will grow, because that's one less thing that they have to worry about. And so, as you guys may know, while we're doing this, we're having some challenges with Texas and power and things like that. And it was another big payoff for this Internet of Things situation, because we had pipes burst, heat go in certain places. And because we had put in sensors and monitors for that, we were knowing that the pipes were bursting and things were happening before they knew it was happening, because we were monitoring and alerting that. So just one more being in the right place at the right time to say, hey, how do we continue to help our customers out? We've had some large churches here where their sanctuary was flooding, and because everybody was out, they would have never known. But we were able to let them know. They were able to get there in a decent amount of time where they didn't lose it all, but they were able to recover pretty quickly and do those things. But it's really looking at how people leverage technology, how it fits into their business, and then having a conversation about how it will benefit them to grow and where it's going to go forward, right? I kind of use it. One of my kind of things is I want them to use the technology as a competitive advantage, right? And that's really what we want to start to do. That's what we try to treat our customers is you figure out how you use technology as your competitive advantage to differentiate you from your competitors. That's how we go at it.
So Corey, I wanted to ask you a little bit about choosing partners, which was something, you had talked about in your story. And some of the IoT partners are clearly not the same ones you're used to, for your MSP services. So how do you go about, finding them, vetting them, and working with them?
Yeah, going to other industry and talking to peers out there, and then looking at best in class when it comes to the partners that we're integrating with and seeing where they are. What we find out is a lot of them are not aware of MSPs or even understand this model or understand what the channel is about, because they've been an enterprise only. So they have a direct sales force. They have their model. It's been working for years and they don't want to change. So to be honest with you, in that area, it is a hard conversation that you're going to come in and say, you want to take my stuff, take it down to SMB, dilute my prices, don't have a sale for, but I'm having a conversation of how important the channel is because I've learned it and how we can do it. And it's a whole nother market that they've never even tapped into or even look at. In some cases, we're the guinea pigs, we're the pioneers, and that's painful being a pioneer, but it does bear fruit on both sides. They're open, they're looking at it, they're pretty established. They've got a huge track record. They got some huge logos behind them that they can come in there with as well. But we're changing their mentality that what works at the big size, a lot of time works for the little guys, right? And the little guys are going to be a lot more appreciative and learn to grow it and continue to go at it. And that's how we really change it, really going after them and having some hard conversations of why do they want to come into the channel and mess with this MSP market, right?
Right.
Big
right.
conversation.
And so another challenge you mentioned was security. Can you talk about that? Because that's always an issue for everybody, but for IoT, maybe even more so.
Yeah, we need a whole nother 3, 4, 5 shows for that one. But we noticed that on the IoT, just about everything, because we have this want it now mentality. Security, unfortunately, is just not top of mind when it comes to an IoT process, right? They built it, they put it in there, and away it goes. One of the things that we do, we help them on that side is to have them start to think about it first and start thinking about why it's important. But it also comes down and forces us, as well as MSPs who decide to get in this world, to go back to the fundamentals of isolating networks, segmenting networks, doing things to protect. Why would I leave it to the IoT guy to provide that protection? I got to find a way to protect myself as well, right? Teaching them how to do that type of stuff, truly VLAN and DMZing, segmenting, right? If I go in there and I throw an unsecure IoT device on my customer's network or my network, that's not the IoT vendor's problem. That's my problem because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So having those conversations of why it's important, because a lot of it is they don't understand why. They just understand that I just need to turn something on, send an alert, and make it happen. Why do I need to secure that? Why do I need to do that? I'm not touching any data. I'm just riding the network. Why do I need to do that? Once we have the conversation of why it's important, the light bulb goes off because we assume that they know. And in most cases, they just don't. They're in a totally different area. They're developers. They got an idea, got some funding. Let's go do it. Right.
And the IoT vendors themselves can be a little bit spotty with their security and their firmware updates, right?
100%. Yes. We see it a lot. And it's not just those guys. We're seeing it across the board, but it's a great opportunity for us to have these conversations. And I believe the work that I'm doing now and the others who are in this industry out there, because we know other MSPs are doing it as well, is paving the way for where it's going to be, right? And where it's going. Because if we're not having these conversations now, that means that somebody's going to be having them 2 or 3 years from now when it's probably a little bit too late. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, did you have anything else you wanted to ask Corey? I want to know if he's hung his plaque up yet and what his employees think.
Yes, we did. It's up. They're extremely proud, and it wasn't for me. It was them. They allowed me to do that. They allow me to be able to go out there and teach and go out there and talk about it and see it. And what it was is when I come back in the office and I talk about getting your process in order, getting your house in order. ChannelPro told me, and my peers told me that this is right. So y'all better get it going, right? It's just that validation for me as well. But it just shows how awesome of a team we have and that they work hard to enable us to do that. And it's our customers as well. That says, hey, these guys are doing it right. They're doing what they need to get done. And it's cool to have that recognition. And it was a team. They were like, wow, this is pretty cool. Very cool.
That's awesome that you got it hung up. And I really like the fact that we got Joanna here too to kind of pass the torch on. So Colleen and Rich, I'm thinking we should probably have something like the ChannelPro Stanley Cup, that they actually only get to hold on to for a year and then they pass it on and they can do whatever they want with it for a year. But then they have to
like it.
Go.
That's what's up.
I like it. And if there's drinking involved somehow, you can
as long as nobody tosses it like over the water, right?
Right. Yes.
Like the Super Bowl trophy.
Right. I could see Corey, coming out of one of the events with that big trophy and just, drinking right out of it or something. Woo! That'd be awesome.
Now, quickly on the award presentation thing. So almost exactly a year ago, and it feels like 10, but almost exactly a year ago, Matt and I visited Joanna at her office, and we personally presented the plaque to her, which was great for us, certainly. And for obvious reasons, we can't do that or haven't been able to do that this year. But ChannelPro has a series of hybrid, we're calling them hybrid events that we're going to be doing this year. And hybrid means there are going to be some people in a room with us, we hope, if everything works out the way we intend, and other people kind of watching online. And one of those events is going to be happening early in June. I want to say June 9th, maybe, in Dallas, in Corey's backyard. So even though he has the plaque, it has been hung up, he has celebrated with his team, we're going to take it off the wall and give it to him again at that show in June, just so that we can do that and personally give him that the way we did with Joanna.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of fun. We came up with this idea of, doing it in person. And Corey, I would encourage you to, maybe order lunch for the staff or bring some bottles of champagne, get everyone. I think we had a photographer, or no, you just took the picture with the iPhone, but we had everyone gather around me and we took a photo. We loved that photo. It was so much fun and we just had a good experience. And then we actually had like a couple people, part of our team, just talk a little bit about, maybe mention a few words of different things of what it's meant to them or how they feel about working at MXO and things like that. So we made it sort of a company-wide effort. And I said what you said, which is, without my team, like I wouldn't even be getting this award. I have a lot of crazy ideas and I'm constantly driving things, but they're the ones executing all the time. And so I'm really was grateful for that. And I think having them included in that process made them truly feel like they're a part of it, and adding a little celebration to it was fun.
Yeah, most definitely. Looking forward to it. We can definitely do that. As long as we just promise to leave the bad stuff for 2020 and start of 2021 out of it, I'm all good for the celebration.
Now, do you think Dallas will have power by June, or do you think there'll still be snow?
I live in Texas, man. It might be 4,000 degrees today, man. So it goes like this, right? But we should have, we're back sort of to normal, but getting there, man. But it's been crazy.
Crazy times. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and give a big congratulations for being our second Peer of the Year award winner. A big thanks also to Joanna Sobran, our inaugural and first ever Peer of the Year award winner. No one will be able to take that away from you.
Right.
There was a first, and it was you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you're right. We had a great time coming down to your office that time and doing that. So I'm looking forward to hopefully someday in the near future seeing Corey in person, because that would be a lot of fun. So. Corey, for people want to get to know you a little bit more and maybe reach out to you, how can they do that? Where can they go?
Yeah, always. Website is always there, www.5ktech.com, but also reach out to me directly. See Kirkendall at 5ktech.com. I don't mind giving out my personal email address. That is mine. It's not fake. I will respond, and I enjoy the communication and conversation. So let's definitely catch up.
And if power is not restored soon, you can send it via carrier pigeon. Will also work as well. Joanna, for those who want to, Joanna, I know you're on a time crunch. Are you going to be able to stick around, or should we say goodbye to you?
No, I still have some time left. So.
All right. Well, we'll say goodbye to you on the other side. So, Corey, thank you again so much for being with us. And again, congratulations. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're doing the show a little out of order today. So when we come back, we're going to have some news and some other articles to talk about. And we'll have Joanna with us as long as she can stick around. So you should stick around too. We'll be right back. And welcome back to part 2 of ChannelPro Weekly. We're still joined here on the other side with managing editor Colleen Frye, and of course the lovely, beautiful, and smart as a whip Joanna Sobran is still with us, and hopefully we'll have her for a little while longer. So, Rich, we don't have a lot of news to cover this week, but we do have a couple stories. So why don't we just go ahead and get our hands dirty and talk about Lenovo. Lenovo has they have something about data centers and a program, and this is like all you. So why don't you go for it?
Okay. Yeah, no, and that sounds like my lead right there. Lenovo, something about a data center and a program. Specifically, this is a program that they are going to be introducing in April for their MSP partners who wish to sell data center infrastructure on an as-a-service basis to their customers. So Lenovo's major competitors in the data center market, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Dell, for some period of time, they have had some kind of a infrastructure as a service, although not cloud-based, like private cloud infrastructure as a service or local cloud as a service offering that their partners could take advantage of. This is Lenovo's foray into that area here, and it's a little bit different than what the others are doing. So, like I said, it's going to roll out in April. That's the beginning of the fiscal year for Lenovo. So there are going to be a few tweaks to their partner program, including the ability for Lenovo partners to purchase Lenovo data center gear on a sort of like an installment plan. So I believe out of the gate, there will be a 5-year term on this, and essentially, instead of paying whatever it is, $100,000 upfront for some set of data center gear, you'll pay for it in 60 installments, once a month for 60 months. And then what you can do, the idea behind this basically is that there are MSPs out there who would like to sell private cloud capacity as a service to their customers. And obviously they're going to be billing their customers on a usage basis, a consumption basis, maybe a monthly fee. So they don't want to deal with this giant upfront capital expense kind of model. So Lenovo is setting it up so that if that's something that you're interested in doing as a business venture, offering consumption-based private cloud capacity on your private cloud, you can do that, and you can do it in a way that doesn't require you to put a whole lot of money out up front.
Now, Rich, I got to stop you there. Now, when they are trying to pitch this to their customers, do they say it's $1 million or 4 easy payments of $250,000?
And they spell it easy. Yes, precisely. Because we've all learned so much from the people who sell that way. So you're in the Lenovo Partner Program if you're taking advantage of this, which means that you're getting discounts on whatever you buy from them. Those discounts will apply to this as well. Lenovo has alliance relationships with all sorts of software providers, Microsoft, Veeam, VMware. So they're going to be making discounted software available to the MSPs who take advantage of this too. So if you want to build a disaster recovery kind of solution on that as a service infrastructure using Veeam software, you'll be able to do that at a discounted rate. There is some upgrade protection built into this. So it's a 5-year term. Obviously, Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, they're going to be coming out with new processors over the course of 5 years. When and if they do, you will get to take advantage of that upgraded compute power there without having to, re-up your contract, pay anything extra. It's just sort of built into the contract that as newer processor technology becomes available, you get to take advantage of that. And then the other thing is and this is what's a little bit different about Lenovo's model versus HPE or Dell, as I understand it. But ultimately, what Lenovo is doing is really just selling you the infrastructure for you to resell as a service on a different payment plan, essentially. And so the distinction here is that you, as the ChannelPro, own the hardware. You're not sort of partnering with a vendor to resell somebody else's capacity to your customers. This is data center gear that you're buying to run for your company and as the foundation for a service, but it's 100% your stuff. So I will pause there. I think that's pretty much.
So a couple questions, and then I want to go over to Joanna to get some of her thoughts on this. But so you say this is like you own the hardware. So at the end of the 5-year terms, you are left with this hardware yourself, correct?
Yes, although as you ask that, it does make me wonder what, at this point, they haven't even launched it yet, so I'm sure they're not thinking about what happens 5 years from now yet, but it does make you wonder if there will be some sort of exchange kind of opportunity or something like that when people are reaching their renewal point.
Yeah, because what you said was that like they'll if newer hardware comes out, better hardware, they'll refresh it free for 5 years. So at the end of the 5 years, it's like you got 5 new servers that you are keeping. It's an odd model. I don't know if I follow the pricing very well there, but so Joanna, have you had any desire to sell your own compute on your own hardware and your own data center?
I started that way actually, maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I've since then, of course, changed out to the cloud-based model, right? Where we're just working with another cloud reseller that specializes in that and has their own data center and it meets their own compliance. And the main reason for that is, when we started, it wasn't as popular. I did have the money to make the investment. I thought it would be much easier for us to resell it and manage it. But then what I realized is that I needed more experienced staff to manage, and there was a lot of risk for us involved in that. But the biggest reason for me is because on our software development side of the business, we manage patient data, right? We have a lot of PHI, and there's a lot of compliances with that we have to meet. And so I feel like that's kind of its own business that you have to have. And for me, I really want to focus on IT managed services and development. I think it sounds like a very interesting model, right? But for me, I probably, I'd have to do a lot more evaluation, or my team would, but I think we've been happy just sort of outsourcing it at this point and mitigating that risk, which is a lot for us.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way a lot of MSPs would go. Rich, there must be a profit side to doing this yourself.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, is that it's probably a lot more profitable for people, right? And you have to, Matt, you have to also realize who you're asking the question. I'm not an IT person, so you're asking a sales marketing person who's focused on vision, culture, and growing the business. If you're asking one of my colleagues who grew up as a network administrator and still loves, managing hardware, they'll tell you that this is a great idea and they want to manage it, right? So I think also it just depends on the person and the business model that you have. But I'm sure there's opportunity to manage that. Some people still do their own voice over IP and resell it to their customers.
That's true. There is always those who want to do it all themselves. So, Rich, did they talk about what some of the margins are here? Or I guess there wouldn't be margins because you would be turning around and reselling that. So I guess you would set the margins.
But you wouldn't be sharing that margin with somebody else, is I think the key. And that's why, like Joanna was saying, it's more profitable. This is your business to run. You're not partnering with, say, HPE and reselling GreenLake capacity. This is your local cloud to sell to your customers.
That's right. And you can call it Purple Lake if you want, and no one can stop you. And that's what's important. It's all about the right branding. Colleen, any thoughts here on the Lenovo story, or should we move on to WatchGuard?
I think moving on to WatchGuard would be probably good.
Let's do that. So WatchGuard is in the news this week. They have an updated cloud management console. Ooh, Rich, everybody loves new consoles. Tell us about this one.
On the face of it, this might not feel like a giant story, and it isn't a giant story, but it is an interesting one, or it's sort of a good opportunity to check in with WatchGuard and this journey that they have been on over the course of the last few years, because a few years back, WatchGuard was known as a huge name in firewalls. And yet here we are already well into a sort of post-perimeter era of computing and security. And the last 12 months has only accelerated that enormously. You've got people working from home as well as at the office, and more stuff is happening on the cloud. So it's not, behind the firewall, behind the perimeter and so on. And so lots of security companies, understanding that, the firewall business maybe isn't the only place you want to be betting your future, have been, evolving, looking to keep up with the times, essentially. And so WatchGuard has really been doing two things over the last few years. They've been rounding out that firewall business, or supplementing that firewall business with additional product lines, including like AuthPoint, their multi-factor authentication product, among others. And they've also been, because this is the other huge trend in IT over the last few years, right, is the explosion of interest in MSPs and as a service everything. Small businesses, medium-sized businesses doing outsourcing IT to MSPs. So two sort of strategic paths that WatchGuard has been going down for the last few years: broadening the portfolio, making it more MSP friendly. And part of that whole scheme has been introducing a cloud management console that provides a centralized multi-tenant environment for an MSP to manage this wider set of WatchGuard products and administer it for their customers. So they rolled out an update to that cloud management console last week. A few interesting things that they put in there. There's new network security policy management functionality in there that allows you to define policy templates and assign those policy templates to specific users or groups of users, groups of devices within an account, or across accounts. You can apply them to all of the tenants that you're dealing with there. There is some preset policy deployment functionality that's designed to make some of the functionality that WatchGuard offers to its partners, network inspection, content filtering, content scanning. You're going to be able to deploy some of that stuff with a single click. Because apparently sometimes the difficulty of rolling that stuff out, it is actually the barrier that prevents people from taking advantage of functionality that they're paying for. I mentioned their MFA product before. They are adding the ability to assign that MFA or set up MFA policies for users, devices, or groups of users, rather, on a risk-based basis. So if you want to require people to use MFA when they are connecting to resources from home, but not when they're inside the office, you'll be able to do that kind of a thing. And part of the thinking there is, and I'll be interested to hear what Joanna says, but I hear this a lot, that channel pros go out to a customer and they say, you need to be using MFA, and the customer says, it's a pain in the neck and I refuse to do it. If they can make it a little bit easier for people so that maybe they don't have to do that MFA where in the office, they're kind of hoping that might improve adoption there. And then there's also some new threat correlation functionality that they've added, so that if there's a network threat detected, they can pass word along to the endpoint. Vice versa, if endpoint security detects something, it can tell the network security systems, and they can kind of coordinate their response behind the scenes to that automatically a little bit. So some interesting additions to the cloud management console, but it also kind of shows you WatchGuard continuing down the road towards having a complete set of security products that are very MSP friendly.
It's a lot of good stuff. And you asked Joanna, and we'll try not to go too far down the MFA rabbit hole, but Joanna, like, what do you see when you go out and tell your customers that they have to have multi-factor authentication?
So I think, a year ago, it was still, there was a lot of pushback on that. And then over the last 12 months, I think, what we really did, I realized that I couldn't just tell people how important it is, because unless you experience something yourself, and then you say, oh gosh, if I just did MFA, I could have prevented this phishing attack or this wire transfer scam or whatever they went through, right? Unless people go through that, you really can't tell them, because they view this as a pain in the butt thing that they have to, click another button on their phone or on their computer. So one of the things that we did over the last year is really committed ourselves to doing a lot more education to our customers. We started doing webinars. We made a point that every single month we would put some information in there in our newsletter. We started talking about it to our clients on our technology business review meetings. And it was just this constant education. Then we rolled out the security platform where they're doing a lot more education. And then we started sharing real stories of, a client or two that refused to have MFA, and then what happened to them when they did a payroll transfer or payroll change to someone else, right? And so sharing those real stories and educating people was really important. And then the other thing that we did, in addition to the education, we sort of just made it mandatory. We got to this point that we just said, hey, you hired us to be your IT company, right? Like, just like when you hire a doctor to help you get better, you got to take their advice and you need to do what they're telling you. So we're going to, and we okayed our clients to say, okay, we don't want to do it this second. We're going to roll it out within 60, 90 days because we have a larger community here. We need to do some upfront education about this. That's okay. But we certainly are not allowing our clients to say, no, we're not going to do this. It's you have to do it now, and here's why, or whatever timeline that we agree upon. So there's a variety of different things. But I think, once you get to this point where you just, tell clients that this is so important and you hired me to do this. And so now I'm going to, tell you why you need to do this. People really understand. You got to just be passionate about it. You can't be like, oh, well, they didn't want to do it. That doesn't work. So it was all those things.
The mandatory approach is kind of a good one, because it's like, just make it something that they have to do, and they might gripe about it a little bit, but it is that important.
I'll tell you something else that I found interesting myself, like how psychology works with people. So I even took it a step further to start talking about it in my sales presentation. And I have this document, this one slide that talks about the different components of security, and MFA is on there. And it's, it's free for Office 365, for example. So it's like, why not just enable it? And I started talking about it in my sales presentation. And what I actually found was that people would say, especially when I say it's free, right? They go, I don't know why my current IT company didn't implement this, right? Or make us do this. And, and in my head, I'm thinking they probably did, but you just didn't want to do it, right? But it's just how you approach it, when you approach it. And so when you talk about it in your sales presentation, then when you offboard from sales to service, it's really not a surprise. They know that it has to happen. So that's for new clients. And then of course you've got your existing clients where we did a lot more education and things like that.
Yeah, very interesting. So is there anything else in here that WatchGuard was kind of introducing and talking about that sounded interesting to you? Like, would it be, would the ability to be able to make MFA something where it's required in certain scenarios and not in others, would that be something that you would like?
Well, I would be very interested in how that works, right? Because I guess, when Rich was talking about it, what was running around in my head, and I have to read all the details about it, but what was kind of running in my head is like, well, why would you shut it off in one place versus the other? I don't feel like I know enough to answer that. I mean, it sounds interesting, and maybe, but to me, it's like to click something like, yes, I approve this, or no on my phone. It's just not that big of a deal anymore. It's part of my life that I don't know that I would even take that risk for myself. But, I don't know for enough details, Matt, to say that. And for me, it's worth it to have it.
It's a lot of work pressing that button. Some people, right? They don't want to take the finger. It's hard.
And somebody's confused. Do I hit the green one or the red one? I mean, there's options I got to choose from. Yeah. So
I had a question related to that too, Joanna. So WatchGuard seems to be following the path of a lot of the security providers, and that they're really beefing up their slate of offerings. So you may be able to only, go to them, or would you prefer a best of breed? Are you starting to think about that at all? Are you looking for, a security vendor that offers everything, or do you still want to pick and choose what you want to use?
Well, that's a great question. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, right? I think it's very nice to have the choice and have a vendor, a partner that does have the capabilities of providing you with different services, features, and benefits to allow you to have that choice. You know, I think from a security standpoint, and I'm not a security expert by all means, but what I think about sometimes when you are with one vendor for everything security related, there may be some risks to that, you know? And so I do like to spread things out a little bit, but I think it's a great option. You know, I love when one of our partners that we work with is constantly adding additional features and benefits that we can offer to our customers, especially if they already have, you know, if they already have that service. It's nice to continue to upgrade.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Well, I think what's probably good on WatchGuard, I know we got one story about security. So if you like to talk about security, stick around. We got lots more security talk coming up. But I do believe, Joanna, we are out of time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think we took I think we took you a little over your deadline. So I appreciate you sticking on to wrap the news with us. So Joanna, if people wanted to learn more about MXOtech and more about you, connect with you, how can they do that?
Well, our website is MXOtech.com. I love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. Like Corey, I'm happy to give you my email address, which is jsobran@mxotech.com. So Joanna Sobran. And, you know, I always enjoy connecting with other professionals, whether you need help with anything or you want to help me in any way, make some suggestions for me on, you know, in terms of my business. So either way, I just love really collaborating with other peers. And if you want to get a hold of me, those are a couple different ways that you can get in touch.
Well, fantastic. It's always a joy to have you on. And even though there's another Peer of the Year winner out there now, you're still, you still got the title, right? And you were the first one. So you can take that with you all the way home. So thank you again so much for being on. Really appreciate it. And we'll have you back on again soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Can't wait to do it in person in Dallas.
There you go.
All right, well, let's shift gears and talk about the secrets of cloud security. Now, Colleen, this is one of your stories, and we will dive into this. So what's this all about?
Well, the risk here is if I tell you the secrets of cloud security, then they won't be secrets anymore.
So now did cloud security actually tap you on the shoulder and like whisper in your ear, "Hey, Colleen, I got secrets for you"?
Actually, it was the folks in the article, the security experts and the MSPs that whispered those to us and revealed them.
But they revealed them willingly, like there were no nefarious acts involved or espionage or anything like that.
Indeed. So we're all friends now, and there are no secrets among friends, right?
Good. Well, I'm glad it was acquired the right way. So tell us about the secrets.
Well, so I guess one secret no longer is that it's hard. You know, all the folks in the article said, there's just no bones about it. It's hard. It's more complicated, protecting your customers' assets in the cloud. Upside is it's more lucrative. And so there's a reason to, get involved if you're an MSP and learn, more about how to do so. And so some of the things that our experts recommended are you're going to have to learn some new tools and techniques, and you're going to have to, vet your cloud providers very carefully. And you're also going to have to maybe adjust some contracts, your MSP contracts. So that's just kind of the baseline. Do you want to drill down into some of the tools and such?
Sure. Yeah. Let's dive into a little bit of the nitty gritty. We've got time.
Yeah. So the tools that MSPs traditionally work with, they control their own environment. They're in control of that. But now that you're in the cloud, you're not in control of that environment. So you have to learn to use the tools that, AWS, for instance, or Azure have. Learn them well. And then you need to talk to your clients about security. Now is more of a shared model than just the MSP providing the client security. So the client has to play a role in what they're going to do to uphold their end of the policies and procedures. You have to talk to the cloud provider, so there's an understanding of what part of security they're going to handle. And then the MSP themselves makes up the third leg of this and what they're going to handle. So one of our experts called that the matrix of responsibility. So that's probably the first thing you want to do if you go down that road, is really make sure that all parties understand the matrix of responsibility and they know what they're responsible for.
Now, can those parties actually see the matrix?
Yes, it should be a written document because, you know, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So yeah, yes, it is a written matrix. Not a sci-fi matrix.
I was wondering, like, oh wait, did she get that? Because Rich
yes,
laughed.
I did,
I'm like,
yes,
I'm
I
like,
did.
come on, I everybody's seen the Matrix movies.
It's a dry old boring, you know, document. And so in that shared responsibility, that's one of the things you may be advisable to add to your contract, so that if I'm the MSP and I'm going to protect you in the cloud, you as a client are going to have to agree to not only having security policies and procedures, but actually enforcing them. As one of the folks we quote in the article said, you know, if you get audited and they come in and say, your policies and procedures are beautiful, but you haven't followed them, well then, you know, you're still screwed. So, you know, you really have to make sure that that's clear and that in your contract, you're allowed to enforce that. So if you're not abiding by them, then the MSP has the right to enforce that. The other side of the contract issue is that one of the MSPs felt that often they're probably not charging enough to take on this shared risk. And so you might need to adjust your contracts to compensate for some of the risks that you as the MSP is taking on in this matrix net.
Where there is no spoon, I'm sure. So Rich,
Yeah.
why don't we drag you in here? So there's a lot here that this particular article covers. Was there any points in here that you found particularly interesting or insightful?
Well, I mean, a number of them, and I mean, Colleen was talking about like that. First and foremost, I think the thing that kind of gets you thinking is just this idea of the shared security model, and it goes right back to what you were talking about, Colleen, about, you know, a lot of what you're doing in cloud security, it isn't under your direct control the way a ChannelPro is kind of used to. And so you know, securing this stuff in the cloud is the same kind of deal. It's you're doing some of it, your vendor's doing some of it, and like you said, you know, the end users are partly responsible, and so that's a different kind of challenge to sort of think and work your way through. And it goes to another thing that the article talks about that I think is just worth flagging is just even if you're not, you know, if we're not talking about a cloud security solution specifically, any cloud vendor that anyone in our audience does business with, you know, they need to be on top of their game with respect to security. And so vetting cloud vendors before you sign on with them and start selling their stuff to your customers, making sure that they're doing the right things around security is I think an important discipline to get into. And one of the experts that Colleen quotes in the article actually provided some suggestions. It's called the Consensus Assessments Initiative Questionnaire, CAIQ, and it actually lists out the questions you should ask every cloud vendor you do business with. Are you doing these things? Because you probably don't want to be doing business with them if the answer is no. And you know, the other thing that that expert said was don't just get that answer once. Because things change, right? So you should be checking in with your cloud vendors on a regular basis and just finding out, you know, has anything changed in terms of what you're doing? If there are changes to the threat landscape that you're aware of, you know, what have you done around that? An obvious example would be that, you know, SolarWinds got hit in this supply chain attack. I would probably be interested to know what are my cloud vendors doing to prevent themselves from getting hit by a supply chain attack, for example. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. You absolutely need to check these vendors out when you're establishing a relationship with them, but you need to kind of keep on top of them and just make sure they're still trustworthy.
I think a great thing to keep in mind that one of the experts said is, don't fall victim to the threat of misunderstanding. So constantly, going over that shared responsibility, it will prevent you from that threat of misunderstanding.
Yeah, there was a quote in here that I wanted to point out and that I thought was particularly good. And we'll, of course, put a link to this article in the show notes page for episode 176. So if you're listening, go to channelpronetwork.com, find the show notes page. Or if you're watching on YouTube, open up that description area. And we put the links free in there as well. Because there's a lot in here and a lot of really good and insightful pieces. And one of them was that security is a lot of things, but it is not a set it and forget it thing. You have to constantly go back and be reevaluating and re-auditing all of your security practices and staying on top of that, because you don't just fix, you don't just do security and have it done. It's an ongoing process. At least that's what I believe one of the people you talked to said, Colleen.
Yeah, true. And your documentation, you have to keep that up to date too. So that matrix, you have to keep updating it.
Security is not an easy thing, and sometimes you're just going to have to accept it and swallow the red pill and dive right in. It's just the way it's going to have to be. So any other comments on this, or should we just send everybody to go check it out for themselves?
I think they should go check it out.
I think they should. ChannelProNetwork.com is the website. Go and find the show notes page for 176. It's Secrets of Cloud Security. Thank you so much, Colleen, for doing that. Now, Rich, we're not done yet, though. We do have a quick mention. And it's talking about a soft skill that you should have for 2021. And this is by our wonderful friend, Lisa Shore, who was actually just on the show with us last week. What is the key soft skill for 2021?
It is empathy.
That's a word. Now, can you define empathy?
Empathy is the ability to, and I should be careful because I want to make sure I define it the way she does, right? But it's the ability to identify with, to understand, and internalize, if you will, what somebody else is feeling or experiencing. And in fact, so I'll take a step back here quickly. The main reason I wanted to flag this very quickly was just Lisa was on the show with us last week. And gosh, like 2 business days maybe after that, we published her latest article. She's done a number of articles for us over the course of the last few years. And they're great, all of them, because in addition to being an MSP and a solution provider, she also has sort of a second business called Shore Success, where she teaches channel pros how to build and maintain what she calls a personal brand. I mean, how to present yourself, how to communicate with customers in a way that inspires trust and confidence and helps you grow your business better. And it's really important stuff. I believe we've had her on the show to talk about it before. Very important stuff that doesn't get talked about enough, and that too few channel pros kind of invest time thinking about. And so her latest piece is about this soft skill, empathy, that she really encourages people to be thinking about, given all the stuff that's going on in our world these days. And she talks about what is empathy, how is it different from sympathy, and so on. So and she's emphatic in saying that this is something that can be learned. It's something that can be taught. It's not something that's just you're born with or not. Once you appreciate why it's important, you can make it more of how you work with employees and with customers. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well, and I encourage people to take a peek at that.
Absolutely. The difference between something and empathy, good stuff. When I asked you to define empathy, I was going to see if you were going to define it using the word empathy, like, well, empathy is like to empathize. That would have been pretty funny. But you nailed it. You nailed a good definition. Colleen, do you believe that is a good soft skill to have? Probably not just for 2021 though, right? I mean, empathy is a skill that you should probably practice with your customers all the time, right?
I think it's a life skill, man. I mean, even as a parent, your children come to you with a problem. You have to be empathetic. Sympathy is one thing, but when you really acknowledge how they're feeling and then react to it, I think it helps you with that relationship.
So being emotionally stable is an important part of being a channel pro.
I think emotionally mature, or as Lisa would say, and she says she's going to write about next, emotional intelligence.
Emotional, the old EI. That's what they're writing after AI, right? It's EI. Is that what goes into machines next? Is that what's going? Maybe that's what's going to take us down the Skynet path, Rich. Is not artificial intelligence. It's artificial emotional intelligence. Can you make Can you make that artificial?
I don't know. I'm stuck on EIAIO basically at this point.
Fantastic. Well, we'll go ahead and talk to Old McDonald about that one and see what he's got to say on our next episode. Colleen Frye, managing editor, Channel Pro. Thank you so much for stopping by and being here to talk with Joanna Sobran and Corey Kirkendall. Any parting words before we go? Anything that people should look forward to from you?
Had a great time. April issue upcoming, have an article about self-care and why MSPs, should take care of their emotional, their physical, and their spiritual health. So,
boy, lots of feel good stuff for 2021. This is fantastic. Everybody,
I think we need it.
Yeah, that we sure do. And on that note, we will take a break. And when we come back, Rich and I will close out the show, hopefully with some regular end of the show features. Rich might have an insight into the future or two. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Stick around. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone, to part 3 of this episode of Channel Pro Weekly, where we are going to wrap up the show here with a couple things. Rich, traditionally we have a museum pick and a tech pick. It's been a little crazy. We don't have those lined up for the show today, but that's okay. We'll have some more of that to talk about probably next week. But Rich, we do have another, and we're going to be saying this a lot, I think, over the coming year. We've got another event coming up. Why don't you tell us about that one?
We are going to be saying that a lot over the course of the year because we've got another event coming up every month, one event a month through the end of 2021. So get used to it, folks. We're going to be talking to you about our next event. I'm really excited about this next one though because it's the first of its kind. It takes place online on March 3rd. And it is our first annual Business Management Online Summit. So, I mean, business management content has been a staple at our shows as long as we've been doing shows, the hiring and firing, sales and marketing, all the stuff that goes into running a company as opposed to supporting technology or building solutions and so on. This is the first time we've dedicated an entire event just to all of that kind of subject matter. We've got great stuff coming up here. We've got, first of all, I should say, we've got a keynote presentation coming from Paul Dipple of Service Leadership. I believe we spoke last week on the podcast about the fact that Paul and Service Leadership are now part of ConnectWise. But by prior arrangement, he is our keynoter at this event, and he's going to be talking about what makes great MSPs great. Paul, among his many other talents and forms of value to his customers, he has this phenomenal database of information that he collects from MSPs and aggregates, and he can kind of go into that and look at which are the top performing MSPs, which are the ones that are maybe growing most, growing fastest, and what do they do in common? What are the characteristics they have that maybe help explain why they are outperforming their peers? So he's going to be talking about that. We've got a session on sales meeting obstacles and answers. So, what are the most common objections or issues that you tend to run into in sales meetings? Probably happens to a lot of other people too, your peers. And we've got some sales experts coming in to kind of tell you how to navigate those situations. We've got a whole session dedicated to managing labor costs. And it might sound like kind of a niche topic, but as you will see if you attend this session, labor is a huge. It's probably your biggest line item, your biggest cost, and lots of channel pros actually don't train an enormous amount of attention on are they spending that money efficiently, and what can they do to determine that, and then maybe be more efficient about it. We've got a session just on, so I could go on. We got all sorts of great content. It's all going to be about business management. There's M&A stuff. There's pricing stuff. Check it all out at events.channelpronetwork.com, and I hope folks can join us on March 3rd.
I do too. I really hope they can. Normally, now you didn't allude to the fact that you also talked me into embarrassing myself in this particular event. So if you'd like to set the stage for those who want to see me do something goofy, why don't you tell them about that real quick?
Well, I mentioned briefly there a moment ago that we have a merger and acquisition session. And so what that session is we brought in two consultants who work with MSPs who are either looking to buy or looking to sell. And so they know a ton about that area. And the main idea is they're going to be providing advice to you on how to figure out what your company is really going to be worth when the time comes to put it on the market, because there are a lot of misconceptions about what makes a channel pro's business, a managed service provider's business valuable, or what doesn't. So they're going to be providing their expert take on that, so you can factor that into what you're doing today to maximize your price when it's time to exit later on. But we're doing it in this fun kind of way. It's a little bit like Shark Tank, where we're going to have three MSPs tell our expert guests what they think their business is worth and why, except all three of those MSPs are going to look a little bit like Matt Whitlock in disguise. We have not worked out what those disguises look like or anything like that. We've still got some work to do, but yeah, I am looking forward to seeing how that comes together.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done anything in costume or in character for our events, but this is not the first time. So anybody who's been to our events before will know that I can turn on the goofy voices and and make something fun. And that's what Channel 4 events are all about: learning, but also we do have a good time at our events, and try to do things to make them engaging and interesting, just like we do here on Channel 4 Weekly. You get your broccoli, you get your good knowledge and good information, but hopefully you have a good time with us as well. And that's what's really, really important. So good to look forward to. Events.channelpronetwork.com is the events website. Go there, check it out, get registered, and join us on March 3rd. Did you say, Rich? March 3rd?
March 3rd.
March 3rd. It's a big day. 3-3. Be there or be not there, but hopefully you're there, because that would be better than not being there. So be there. All right, Rich, why don't you go ahead and tell us what we might have missed in case you missed it segment, and tell us what might be coming in the near future.
Okay, well, yeah, if you want to know what you might have missed in the prior week there, great thing to do is check out our weekly In Case You Missed It post written by our own James Gaskin, who, by the way, is also in the Dallas, Texas area and was without power for 30 hours this week. We are glad he's back online and doing well and staying reasonably warm, and he will be writing his In Case You Missed It post for you this week. It shows up every Friday on ChannelProNetwork.com. It was a bit of a slow news week, frankly, in the industry, but Palo Alto and Checkpoint both updated their cloud security solutions. CompTIA named its latest slate of advisory council executive board members. And James is going to have a story for you from our good news department about a dog, I believe in Minnesota, who received $5 million from her owner in that owner's will. We'll get into the details in case you missed it. Now, looking ahead to next week, the ASCII Group, we had Jerry Katavas from ASCII Group on the show last week, as a matter of fact. They're doing their first event of 2021, an online event from their MSP Connect series. This one is for their Canadian members, and that takes place next week. And then I can't say anything more about this than what I'm about to hear, which is just that there's some reasonably big M&A news coming next week, and stay tuned for that. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the next podcast episode.
Wow, what a mean thing to do to your dog is to leave it this gigantic, complicated tax liability.
Yeah, right. Yes.
How does a dog?
$5 million. That's a lot of milk bones.
That's a lot of bones. That's a lot of puppy chow and a lot of dog toys and a heck of a complicated 10 or what is that, a 1040 that the dog would have to fill out. So let's not draw into that. Very interesting stuff though. Can't wait to learn more about that. A big thanks to our two Peer of the Year award winners, Joanna Sobran and Corey Kirkendall, for joining us earlier at the top of the show. I hope you take an opportunity to go read up about them and listen to them. If you want to learn more about Joanna, she was on when we interviewed her in depth in episode 130. Great interview. Definitely go and check that out. And of course, we just had Corey on not all that long ago, if memory serves, Rich. I'm trying to look up the show here, but I believe we had him on episode 165. So not too long ago. And I know we dove in real deep with him and we learned about him. So go and check that show out as well, episode 165, to learn more about him. Also, a big thanks to Colleen Frye, managing editor here at ChannelPro, for coming on. Rich, one of these days, I make sure that my jokes are extra bad when she's on, just because like I'm trying to get a particular kind of reaction from her, and I haven't been able to get it yet. But one of these days, Rich, I'm gonna get her, and I'm gonna get her with a good one, and she's gonna laugh. It's gonna happen.
And to be clear, she is endlessly amused by the jokes, but you're trying to get a giggle out of her, right?
I'm trying to get a reaction because like I know she likes the jokes, but she has this awesome way of just like totally not having any reaction at all, like it never happened. And it's an amazing skill, but when I'm trying to get a reaction, it's like I want to get something that you can see. Like a laugh, like a big hearty laugh, and I haven't gotten that yet. But again, the jokes haven't been all that good either. So I guess I'll have to work on my comedy skills. Well, that's going to wrap up episode 176. Big thanks to you, Rich, for being on with me each and every week and doing this, and big thanks to our listening and viewing audience. If you'd like to subscribe to the ChannelPro Weekly Podcast, that's the way to do it. That way it shows up in your phone or wherever you consume it. Anytime, listen while you're on the go, listen in the office, listen while you're doing things around the house, and learn and laugh with us as we go through the news and have these great, insightful interviews with all kinds of experts from the industry. ChannelProNetwork.com is the website. Go there each and every day for articles, news, white papers, downloads, resources, podcasts, all kinds of stuff that will help you make your business better and make you better. And that's what it's all about, is making you better and hopefully making you more money. That's also a big factor here that can also make you better. Yes, that makes sense. So make sure you go to ChannelProNetwork.com each and every day. Follow us on the socials, and we will see you all in episode 177 next week. Rich, who are we gonna have on?
Oh, you're surprising me here. Let me look that up for you real quick. Our co-host next week is Ole Thordarson, who was on the cover of our previous issue of our February issue, if I'm not mistaken. And our guest interview is Joseph Landis from Nerdio. So we're, and we had his boss, the CEO of Nerdio, on the show about a year ago, a little over a year ago. We'll check in with Joseph from Nerdio next week, because they have really got their finger on the pulse of the cloud market. So it'll be interesting to see, in fact, and we spoke with Vadim, Joseph's boss, last year about Windows Virtual Desktop, and that was before, that's pre-pandemic. So it'll actually be very interesting to see what the last year looked like for Nerdio and from their perspective for cloud generally.
That sounds like a great show lined up, and so you won't want to miss it, folks. So we'll see you all in episode 177 next week. See you then.